A key starter absent at day 2 of fall camp. It's Locked on LSU. Here we go.
You are Locked on LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We are free, available wherever you get podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well, so please subscribe. As always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below, so thank you sincerely for that. Thursday was day 2 of LSU's fall camp as they continue to escalate, as Brian Kelly called it, acclimatize the team to fall camp. Just a short hour and 15-minute workout, day 1 Wednesday. On Thursday, they increased the workload. They were scheduled to increase the workload slightly, but the media was only invited to watch the first 15 minutes of practice. So this is going to be a little bit shorter report just because I didn't get to see as much as we did day 1. Just as we look ahead, the team will practice on Friday, but no media availability. Then they're back out there on Saturday where the media is invited to watch the full practice. So the next practice report you get from me will be Saturday after the full workout. We'll look forward to bringing that to you. So just a couple of notes of what we got to see when we walked in. Again, they were in the indoor again for the first 15 minutes. Brian Kelly did discuss this as they're sort of working their way up daily, increasing the number of periods, starting inside, then moving outside. They're just getting the guys acclimatized. As he said, the highest propensity of soft tissue injuries comes in the first 7 days of fall camp. So they are easing their way into fall camp to get these guys into practice shape and ready to make it through a long camp before, of course, the August 30th opener against Clemson. So they're in the indoor facility. When they're in the indoor, the media is invited to watch from the catwalk at the top. And the first session was special teams, and then we got to watch a full offensive team period against air while the defense did drills on the other end of the field. So let me just go sequentially here. I'll tell you what the special teams looked like, field goal PAT, then offense, then defense. So as we first walked in, they were working on field goal PAT. Damian Ramos and Aaron Burrell were the 2 kickers, and they were alternating kicks from different distances. So, for example, Burrell would line up, say, or Ramos would line up a short kick from the right hash, and Burrell would be longer, say, at 35 yards. Then they would each move back 10 yards, and then they'd switch. Burrell would go kick the 2 short kicks, and Ramos would kick the 2 long kicks. It is worth noting that there is a new holder this year. Remember, Peyton Todd was the holder a season ago. He's now at ULM. So number 90, Grant Chadwick, the transfer punter from Middle Tennessee, was holding, and Jonathan Ferguson was snapping. And there were 2 separate units. So the kickers weren't alternating kicks with the first unit. Ramos was kicking with the first unit. Burrell was kicking with the second unit. So it was rapid fire. Sometimes they were kicking the ball almost simultaneously, just for at the same upright, by the way, with a defense against them. Now, it wasn't a full-on rush because this wasn't full pads, but there was an 11-man defensive unit lined up in front of the special teams unit and the kickers. Of note, unfortunately, Damian Ramos did miss a short field goal wide to the right. It was from about 28 yards. And then he also missed a 48-yarder wide left that was from the right hash. Ramos did connect from 44, drilled it. Burrell was a little more consistent, but I'm going to tell you, Burrell has the massive leg. Aaron Burrell was freshman All-SEC a year ago. He handled the kickoff duties, and he showed off that leg as a freshman. It was just, he was automatic. When they wanted to boom it through the end zone for a touchback, he was automatic. When they wanted, he would kick it a little shorter. But Aaron Burrell, gigantic leg, and showed it off again, nailing his 48-yarder. And if you've never been to the LSU indoor, the upright is almost against the wall. There's very little space between the upright and the wall behind it. So there's a net that goes almost to the ceiling. He hit the top of the net from 48. I mean, this is a kick that would have been good from 68. That's not an exaggeration. I mean, it was with authority at the top of the net from 48. So he's just going to be so fun to watch. Listen, Damian Ramos is your place kicker. He's going to kick for this team. But Burrell, He's got the NFL leg, and he's the heir apparent. I'm sure he'll handle kickoff duties again in 2025, and he'll be the guy who, if he figures out consistency and how to straighten it out, he could be really fun to watch. And what a weapon he'd be in 26 and potentially 27. So that's what we saw with the field goal PAT. The first team offensive unit ran a hurry up sequence against air. I did chart every play. It was the first team, second team, third team. Each unit ran a series against air in a hurry-up, no-huddle sequence, and there was a key offensive starter missing. I'll tell you who that was as we continue Locked on LSU, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Drip Drop. If you're trying to stay on top of your routine, whether that's workouts, long days on campus, or staying focused through back-to-back classes, hydration is where it all starts, and that's where Drip Drop comes in. When you're on top of your hydration, you will notice everything works better. Your energy, your mood, your focus, even your skin. But getting enough fluids every day isn't always easy. That's why you got to try Drip Drop. Drip Drop is doctor-developed and scientifically proven for fast hydration. It uses the perfect balance of sodium electrolytes and glucose to help your body absorb fluids quickly, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of a leading sports drink. So if you want to find your favorite flavor, maybe you've tried other electrolyte powders. Nothing really tastes good or works fast. You need to try Drip Drop. And right now, Drip Drop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Just head to dripdrop.com and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege. One word. Again, that's dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONCollege for 20% off. Stock up now before the heat hits hard. So when the first team offense went out for their hurry-up, no-huddle series, Aaron Anderson was absent. Of course, Anderson was the leading receiver a year ago. He was present at the first day of drills, and we watched the entire practice with no hint of anything wrong. Again, Aaron Anderson, the media only got to watch 15 minutes, so don't know if Anderson showed up later or what the excuse or the excuse for the absence was. The next time we speak to Brian Kelly, we'll certainly ask that question of Aaron Anderson. Hopefully, he'll be back when the media has opportunity to watch on Saturday. But no Aaron Anderson. In his place was Berrien Brown. Now, that's interesting because Brian Kelly, when he met with reporters, talked about the depth at each receiver position and had Berrien Brown backing up Chris Hilton. But that's not to say each of the receivers couldn't play every spot, the X, the Y, and the Z. But it was Berrien Brown, Xavier Thomas, and Chris Hilton, the 3 receivers with the first team. Everything else was the same. Garrett Nussmeier, Caden Durham, and the first team offensive line that we explained yesterday from left to right. Tyree Adams, DJ Chester, Braylon Moore, Josh Thompson, and Weston Davis. So those were your starters with Bauer Sharp running the first team at tight end. And the first play was a screen to Bauer Sharp. A similar play they ran a day ago in the hurry-up sequence against the defense. They ran a middle screen to Bauer Sharp on what was the on the 5th play a day ago. They ran on the first play. They're going to throw the ball to the tight end. Brian Kelly features the tight end. They're going to do it. So screen to Bauer Sharp. A zone read run to Caden Durham was the second play. The third play, a deep 35-yard touchdown pass to Xavier Thomas, who was streaking down the left sideline. Nuss threw a beautiful ball. Xavier ran right under it and into the end zone. Again, they were progressing the ball down the field. The next play was an out. They went back to about midfield, an out route to Bauer Sharp on the sideline, about 15 yards. Beautiful pitch and catch from Nuss to Bauer Sharp. And then Berrien Brown, a slant, short from the right side, cutting to the middle of the field, short slant touchdown. And then Chris Hilton on the final play for the first offense, he motioned inside to be attached on the left side of the line, and then they ran a bubble screen and he got in the end zone. So you could see the many different creative ways that they're lining up in formation, the many different players they're getting involved in the offense, and they're having a lot of success in a lot of different ways. The twos went out there for their series, and it was interesting because Juwan Johnson went out for the first rep, not Michael Van Buren. Juwan Johnson handed off to Caleb Jackson, and then Van Buren went in. Candidly, I didn't look to see. Van Buren might have been tying his shoe. I don't know why he missed the first rep, but Van Buren is the number 2 quarterback. Juwan Johnson took that 1 rep, and then Van Buren went in. After the handoff to Caleb Jackson, Van Buren's first rep was a 35-yard touchdown pass to Jelani Watkins. He was in the slot on the right side, went right down the hash, and Van Buren hit him in stride. Jelani Watkins, of course, the elite sprinter who's been with the LSU track team, now over with football. It's hard to think a guy like that won't have a role on this team. It's almost like the Trendon Holiday effect. When you have someone who is that powerful of a weapon, you got to find a way to use it, even if it's a couple of touches a game, even if just running off a safety. There's got to be a way that you'll get Jelani Watkins involved. The third play was a quick slant to Destin Hill. Again, Destin Hill running with the twos, but they went back to him, even though it was Van Buren this time. Van Buren had a couple of not so great throws. He missed Kyle Parker on a crossing route, just threw it high and missed him. Against air, that's a little concerning. I mean, you got to make that throw at this level against a defense, let alone against air. So that was disappointing. And then the final play for the second team offense was a zone read run to Caleb Jackson. The threes go out there. Colin Hurley was taking the reps with the third team offense. First play, a screen to the tight end. This time, though, it was Donovan Green, the Texas A&M transfer tight end. Tight end screen to Donovan Green, who was lined up on. It was sort of a bubble. He was lined up, hand in the dirt, sort of just flexed out to the left, dumped it right to him, got upfield. Interesting. The second play was a reception by true freshman Philip Wright over the middle. He is diminutive. Philip Wright, out of Destrehan, is listed at 6'175". He is small, but he is fast, and he made back-to-back receptions. So they found him there on that pass over the middle, and then on the next play, Colin Hurley looked deep, then checked down to Philip Wright. So back-to-back receptions there for Philip Wright. The disappointing throw from Colin Hurley came on the next rep as Nick Anderson. The great news there is that Nick Anderson was, again, as Brian Kelly said, was not participating in some of the team stuff a day ago as he was going through the concussion protocol. He was fine, but obligated to miss that one day of the team periods. He was there running these team drills, and Colin Hurley missed Nick Anderson wide. Nick Anderson is 6'4", 208. He is a big target, and to miss Nick Anderson wide against air is a problem. So while Nussmeier, and maybe it's unfair to be judging both Van Buren and Hurley against Nussmeier, who's been so pinpoint accurate with everything so far, but it is stark when you see this hurry up, no huddle against air, and both Van Buren and Colin Hurley missed receivers against air. In any event, the next play was a quick slant to Teron Francis, who had the play of the day a day ago in coverage against DJ Pickett. This was against air. He called it a quick slant. And then the last play offensively was a zone read run for Harlem Berry, at which point I went down and looked at the defense. The defense was running a 4-circuit drill. So there were groups of, 15 defenders or so, 10 to 15 defenders. And they were running a drill, and then they moved to the next circuit, the next, and the next. So there wasn't a whole lot to see. One was working on blitzing. If you notice the video that got posted of Blake Baker shaking Aiden Anding day one and getting into the end zone, that clip went viral. It was a great clip. I believe Jacob Verdon is the one who posted that. But if you want to see, if you haven't, that was the first. It was a blitz drill. So you had someone sitting, and then you had players coming on a blitz. Another was wrapping and tackling a dummy to the ground on a pad. Another was an angle drill where you're sort of shuffling, taking a pursuit angle to make a tackle. And then the fourth station was a wrap and drive. You wrapping the pad and then driving it up and back. So they were just working that circuit. The defense was during this period. So not a ton to report on the defensive side other than the attendance was good. Everyone was out there again. The one notable absence was Aaron Anderson. Everyone else was out there for the 15 minutes that we got to see. And again, Tigers were inside today for the 15 minutes we got to see. We would assume they would have gone outside afterwards. As Brian Kelly said, that was the plan, to continue to sort of acclimatize the team, both with the amount of work and then indoors to outdoors for longer periods. Saturday will be our next availability, and we will have it all for you right here on Locked on LSU. So thank you for making us your first listen. Please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video. And let a friend know if they love the Tigers. We got you here every single day for Locked on LSU, your team every day.